Welcome back. In 2005, Lynn Geisler was inducted into the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. He has garnered over 200 wins, including 2 this season, as well as several track and series championships. But what is surprising is, unlike many successful drivers, Lynn did not come from a racing family.
It actually goes pretty far back, actually. I mean, I can remember being at Heidelberg and South Park and stuff, going as a spectator with my father, and that was back when I was 5, 6 years old, and there'd never been anyone physically racing in our family, although we had some interest. So it kind of started back then, and from there I did some casual go-karting around the house, so to speak, and then actually the first go-kart that I had, my parents didn't know I had it. I went with a friend of mine that took me, and I kept it at his house and funded it through selling newspapers and working for the farm across the road from where I lived. My mother wasn't too in favor of it, and probably about 6 months it was over there, no one knew about it. But then my family got interested, and we did some go-karting, and from there it was, sprint cars and late models, and here we are today, and it's been a good road. It's been a real good road.
But could Lynn ever have imagined the successes which have defined his career?
People say, well, do you remember, did you work for that? I just worked to be a good racer. I liked being competitive. I think if you notice today, we're all pretty much hands-on here. I mean, there's no one that sits back. And I like my hands doing things and trying to understand. And because of that, you figured out a way to win. Winning wasn't the initial thing. It was ingenuity and putting it all together, and then the wins came as I became a better driver and the crew became better, and our success has come because of the people that are here, and I don't think you can shortchange that ever.
Lynn has raced against many legends in the sport and at numerous tracks. So what is the biggest change that he has seen throughout the years?
I think the biggest thing is that I've seen change, obviously, everyone would say, well, it's the expense. Well, the expense was always there. People say, oh, well, you used to run out of the junkyard, you used to do this, do that. Well, yeah, you did. But it still cost money, and it still seemed terribly expensive in relationship to other things that were going on. I mean, however you want to look at it. I think what I see as the big difference is the bot technology, so to speak. That's what I call it. I mean, when we worked and built a race car, you build it through the winter. You did it with your crew, and you did it through hard knocks, what you had learned the year before. There were no books, there was no internet, there was no one manufacturing things. You bought a few parts and carved it together, and you worked on it all winter, then you raced it all summer long. And you valued it because it would have taken you months to put it back together. So consequently, that was your piece. Today, you get the credit card out and order it, but everything's like that, so I guess, but that is the change that I see. But hey, it's very competitive. I think that's the one thing that has happened, is you see people that don't necessarily have that knowledge or background being a pretty good racer. So it trades off.
Although he has competed against and beaten some of the best drivers in the nation, Lynn never viewed any as true rivals.
I think there's only ever been a couple people, and it was more not the person as the area they represented. I mean, when we went east of here to Bedford or to Hagerstown, it was Gary Stuhler or Nathan Devereaux. There were a couple guys in that area, and you didn't necessarily focus on one person. You focused on winning at that facility, and that encompassed those guys. Where you went north, it was Dick Barton or it was Ron Davies, but you couldn't concentrate on a person. You wanted to win at that racetrack, and and we won a lot of places and won a lot of races there, and it's a tribute to the guys that put the effort out, because it didn't happen from what I did. It happened because we went there with a good race car and we were prepared to win.
Many words can be associated with Lynn: talented, determined, champion. However, for nearly 30 years, #1 Cochran has become almost synonymous with his name.
I like to think we grew together, and consequently we're still growing. We're still selling cars through my efforts at the racetrack and their involvement, and it is a two-way street.
With Lynn being our representative over the years, it has really worked a lot of business sense for us that the race fans, and of course NASCAR has discovered this over the years, that that they will give the people that advertise, is involved with a track or a race car, an opportunity to do business with them, and that's certainly all we can ask.
For the past 3 seasons, Lynn has teamed with Mike Pager Jr., who runs in the Fast Track Late Model Series.
Actually, Mike just had a car, knew Andy, who's the crew chief on that car, Andy Kennedy, and he was working for me, and Mike bought an old late model that he was going to run in a crate class and needed a little bit of help, and we started helping him some, and one thing led to another. And actually Mike's a pretty squared away guy, and they've been able to maintain their own car and do their own thing. I mean, it's like we're doing the interview and they're going to Tyler to go racing, so they've kind of formed their own little team out of this area, out of our garage and stuff. So it's fun being around young people.
When I first started racing at PMS, just him telling me like how to drive the car a little bit different in the corner, or move up the track. And then even when we started doing some travel, and I would call Lynn, after a heat race, if I'd get a Raceway 7, or I'd call him and he'd be like, well, maybe you should try this a little bit. I've got to the routine that I know somewhat what to do to the car now. I've learned a lot in the past 3 years, but there's still occasions where I call him when I'm not sure what to do. When he's racing at Lernerville or PMS, I call him and ask a few questions.
With all of the young talent on the region's short tracks, does Lynn see anyone who could match his career totals?
If you're looking at numbers, it's more how long the guy wants to stay in it. When you look at it, you say, oh, you accomplished all this. Well, yeah, but we've done it for a long time. I mean, obviously you have, Jarrett Miley coming along pretty well, and Matt Lux, and Satterley. I mean, Greg's become a pretty good racer. These guys have good equipment. Mike Hess. They're the younger guys that are on the move right now, and you're going to see them fill in. And my balance to the program is Mike. At some point, probably that happens. So we have a new gun, so to speak, and we haven't really shot it yet. But he's learning, and at some point, we're gonna do it probably.
Lynn's not sure when he will hang up his helmet for good, even though his 60th birthday is only weeks away. One thing is certain, he appreciates his fans.
It goes without saying that, I can't believe how many are still around, and they still see us as their favorite guy, and that means a lot. They're as solid as can be, even through the hard times. You still see them at the racetrack, and it's nice knowing that they're supporting you.
It was a pleasure to chat with Lynn for a few minutes. I'm sure we'll see him on the track as long as he's competitive and having fun. And speaking of fun, coming up next, we'll talk to a racing family where it's all about fun. Stay tuned.